Hello, you're watching World Talks on TVP World. My name is Sascha Fahrbach. Now, for decades, Poland was one of Europe's great exporters of workers, but that story is beginning to change. The numbers of Poles living abroad long-term has fallen to around 1.51 million, with particularly sharp declines in Britain and Germany, just as Poland has grown into the EU's sixth largest economy. And joining us now to discuss what is bringing some Poles home and what is still keeping others abroad is Sara Bojarczuk, assistant professor at the Center of Migration Research at the University of Warsaw. Good to have you with us. So, jumping right into this, in your mind, I mean, is this a historic reversal here? What do you think is behind this change of so many Poles returning to Poland?
Good morning, and thank you for having me. So in terms of people coming back, I don't think there's one answer that would address all the cases across the countries. In terms of the UK, it's certainly Brexit that had a mark on the decision to come back. Germany, on the other hand, has a very circular migration pattern, so that's why. But indeed, in case of two European countries, Netherlands and Germany, we can see the reverse trend of migration. So there's more people coming back rather than going to the country. And these are the only two countries. So I don't think it's a historical landmark and turning point, because people are still leaving. People are still migrating from Poland to other European countries. But indeed, for the past 2 years, year or 2 years, we can see the shift in the trend. So I think this is quite important to look at. But indeed, what changes is how Poland is economically, and so how the other Western European countries are.
Yeah, and also you mentioned there, I mean, about people coming. We talk very broadly about that, but maybe you can tell us a bit more. I mean, who are these people if we look at them more demographically? I mean, are these mostly families? Are they entrepreneurs, professionals, age group-wise? Tell us a bit more of what you can say about those returnees.
So what I can say is based on the last year's project that we've done with Ministry of Foreign Affairs on Poles living and coming back from Netherlands. Those who are coming back would be typically families with children, depending on the age, because then the school matters and the kind of coordination of the school systems. But we also have young people, young professionals who got some experience abroad and would like to work in bigger cities like Warsaw or Kraków or Wrocław. We also have those who migrated seasonally, let's say, to do some agricultural work or some typical sort of medium to low skilled jobs, and then they come back to Poland. Sometimes they stay, sometimes they go to different countries. Sorry. But we also have those who, like from our experience, those who sometimes go back, but typically would stay, are those who are in some sort of like homelessness crisis. But I would say overall, we can't say that is the profile of the person who comes back. It's different reasons, different characteristics, but also that really depends on where they are in their life stage as well. Because as I said, families is much more complicated, but young people would increasingly also decide to come back.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned one of the main reasons for the UK and the reversal for Poles returning is very much Brexit. I mean, that we've been following that for some time. But at the same time, looking at Germany, who also some of the numbers here have lost roughly around 33,000 Poles in the last sort of 5 years. I mean, this is a more interesting one because this is a country right next door to Poland. It's a big economy. At the same time, Poland has increased in its own economy. That doesn't necessarily mean living standards have improved. So why do you think the reason there are people leaving Germany and returning to Poland? Is that any different from Brexit?
Well, it is different. First of all, the difference is the way that German statistics are being measured. Because when we look at the numbers you refer to, the difference between German statistical office and sort of the ones that are used in the European statistics is that Germans counted for 3 months. The rest we consider the long term as of 12 months. So this is one of the differences that we have to remember. Moreover, Poland and Germany has those two countries have long-standing migration, but circular migration. So people would go to Germany, would stay there and come back. And indeed, there was a trend of Poles staying long-term in Germany. Now, I think there are things that they would consider is the cost of living, the housing situation that we know, for instance, in the UK, in Germany, in Netherlands. These are all countries that deal with housing crisis and housing issues. Poland is still like good quality and affordable housing is still much more available in Poland. The prospects for work and the fact that, and this is what we heard from our interviewees from the Netherlands project, is that when you compare cost of living and what you can earn, there is not much more of a difference anymore between Poland and, let's say, Berlin or Germany, or let's say Amsterdam or Utrecht.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also interesting in terms of actual capacity in the economy. I'm looking also at statistics, right? If we're looking at how Poland has performed, almost $1 trillion economy. If we're looking at that stats from 2025, it seems to be increasing. But there's still, I mean, if we're looking at quality of life, we're measuring also in terms of what that buys you, there's still a bit of a difference as well. But nevertheless, that's contributed to a lot of these people returning. One thing, just curious also, I mean, people returning, but also bucking that trend of still people seeing more emigrants from Poland, for instance, the Netherlands, I believe, and also Switzerland to some degree. So why are these countries getting more Polish emigrants than they're returning?
Well, Netherlands is, as I mentioned before, one of the countries that also experiences more return migration or Polish people leaving the country. But I think this is also coming with development of the economy. So Poland is now considered this new immigration country. It has been for years, as you said, the country of immigration. And so we do experience people leaving Poland for various reasons, but for the very same reason, sometimes they come back. So decision to migrate is very individual, and also because of the fact that this mobility is somehow embedded in people's life nowadays. So it's quite normal to have a neighbor, a friend, or whoever who lived in the UK or in Ireland or anywhere abroad. People or Poles, no, not only Poles, but Poles also have very well established networks. So it's much easier to go to work seasonally, let's say in Netherlands, or to work as the specialist in Ireland or something like this. So people would still decide to migrate. We don't know, well, they would typically decide to migrate for a shorter time. It prolongs. We know the story of how the sort of migration decisions work. And then often after some time, it's either economic or it's family based, or it's simply the fact that after 10, 15, 20 years, they're tired of migration, they're tired of being outside of their home country. They decide to come back. They also have care responsibilities, because we know those who leave, these would be this so-called sandwich generation, so relatively young people in a productive age, who would set up their own families at some point throughout their life course, but they also have elderly parents left in Poland to look after.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned earlier, Sara, that one of the main groups will be families. So they will be returning, maybe not just for salary reasons, but also because of things like quality of life. How much do you think that weighs in? Also, if we're looking at maybe something like safety, do you think that has played also in the mindset of people returning to Poland?
From our research, we did ask specifically our respondents if the conflict across our eastern border matters for their decisions. We didn't have any we didn't have any sign of it. So it was quite clear that there was that this was not a sign to consider. This was not a factor. There were other factors that were much more important. But indeed, I think one of the reasons that has been listed is this perception of multicultural space. So whether it's in the UK or Netherlands, it's much more diverse space, much more multicultural. Poland, even though we do have a large scale of immigration, we're not there yet as, let's say, Netherlands or the UK. So I think that was one of the reasons. But I think predominantly it's not the matter of safety; it's just a matter of feeling like at home.
Yeah, and also, I mean, we've experienced this ourselves. I mean, here at the channel, we have people who have a mixed background, who are Polish by origin through parents or grandparents who've chosen actually to return from the US or the UK or elsewhere here to Poland. So there's also that draw. And others as well who have no connection to Poland, like myself, also have remained here and have chosen it as a place. Just looking at now, maybe really quickly at the future of all that, where do you see this go? Do you see Poland becoming more of an attractive place, not just for returning, let's say, diaspora Poles, but also maybe for more international immigrants?
Well, Poland has been an attractive destination for international immigrants. However, the political decisions and the regulations are not in line with that. So we can see we can see the drop in work permits, for example. We can see government actively restricting migration and sort of directing it more in the channel that there is only desirable migration, in a way that there are only certain people who are granted access. So I think this is certainly the direction where it's going. So there will be people coming, but those who are for sure actively involved in the labor market, because this is the narrative of the government that is being pursued. I would say that over the next couple of years, we will not see any rapid growth of people or Poles coming back to Poland. I think this would be a steady trend. So yeah, I think this trend of Poland becoming or being now new immigrant destination, Polish people coming back from different countries to Poland, I think this will become more steady, unless the law changes and more foreigners will be allowed to come to work and live in Poland.
All right, so as Poland is stable economically and a safe place to be, many Poles returning, diaspora community returning, and that will ultimately be a good thing for the country. Look, thanks so much for all that. Really enjoy that. Sara Bojarczuk there from the Center of Migration Research, University of Warsaw. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us here on World Talks, but do stay right here on TVP World for more. Goodbye.